Good evening. This is the October 9th Walpole Conservation Commission meeting in person. Our first hearing. Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Conservation Commission, Wetlands Bylaw, Notice of Intent, Stormwater Bylaw, Land Disturbance Permit. In accordance with Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice hereby given the intent of Genstar to construct a 32 Industrial Road, Walpole, Mass. Map 46, Lot 1, a multi-use office and maintenance building with vehicle service bays greater than 40,000 square feet and within the 100-foot buffer zone of an isolated vegetated wetland. Application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office or at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing above matter will be held in person June 12, 2024, beginning at 7:15 p.m. All interested persons request to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued, and we have a
Chairman, I
letter.
don't have they emailed me that they would like to request a continuance to 2023.
They pick a date. That's 10/23. Are you ready, you think? So what are we going on for 10/23?
We have a 7 o'clock and a 7:15 already scheduled.
7.
So 7:05 looks good, doesn't it?
All right, so we make a motion to continue this till 7:05 on October 23rd.
So go ahead, Al.
Yeah,
You move it?
yep. I will.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
600.
I guess that's,
Okay.
it's the 710 one. Yeah, Deborah Drive.
All right, what do we have? We have security compliance.
In violation.
Is that ready? 79 Plimpton Street, is that ready? for-
Yes, 79 Plimpton Street is all,
Okay,
there's a pool, and I have the as-built.
okay, so everything's all right. So we want to make a motion to accept that certificate of compliance?
Oh, second then.
All in favor?
Aye.
600. Do we have something to sign? Thank you. What do we sign?
Nope. That's the appeal sheet.
That's my street right here.
Too fast. They're going so fast, I can't even think.
You need something in here?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Almost 7:05. Where's that? That's this one?
That is the Jatan Hotel.
7:05 yet?
Seven oh four.
Town of Walpole, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Conservation Commission Land Disturbance Permit. In accordance with Walpole Stormwater Management Bylaw, it's hereby given the intent of Jayton Hotel Management at 2375 Boston Providence Highway, Walpole, Mass., map 57, lot 30, to construct a new 4-story hotel with associated utilities of 12,742 square feet, altering over 40,000 square feet of land, requiring a land disturbance permit. The application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office or at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing in the above matter will be held in person August 14th, 2024, beginning 7:40 PM. All interested persons request to be present. Contact Conservation at 508-660-7253 or L. Hershey at walpole-ma.gov with questions. Hearing's been opened and continued. We have a email dated today. Please accept this email as a request to continue our public hearing until the next hearing on October 23rd. So, we have,
7:10?
7, 7:05, and 7:15.
Yeah,
so
7:10.
you want to make a 7:10?
Yeah.
Okay, so is someone make a motion to continue this till 7:10?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Good enough.
Violation of the code.
Where's the, do we have any? You want to take up the violation?
Sure.
Okay.
This is down in your packet. So on the agenda, under enforcement, there is a notice of noncompliance for 1775 Washington Street, Robert Gagliard. And so I noticed that there was an area to the left of the house at 1775 that had been, there was a landscaper out there that was doing some excavation work. And I knew it was in an area where there's wetlands to the rear left corner of the property. So I stopped and talked to the landscaper, and then the owner also showed up and explained that there was a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, as far as I could tell, with excavation occurring within 100 feet of the wetlands without filing with the Conservation Commission, either a request for determination or a notice of intent. And then came back to the office and drafted the notice of violation, talked to the owner, and explained that erosion control fence should be put out on the property, and that he should contact the wetland specialist to delineate the wetlands so we could determine exactly where the work was in relation to the wetlands, and then contact me. He is here tonight, and I'm sure he would like to address the commission. I think he has contacted Mr. Gagliard. You want to come up, and you just have to come.
Want to sit up to the microphone, please?
Yeah, you have to talk into the microphone because it's also broadcasted on Walpole Media.
So, yeah, I cut down the trees next to my house in June, and then it was left like that for 3 months, and nobody came by and said anything to me. And then I hired a guy with a backhoe to pull out all the stumps. And he was pulling out all the stumps, and that's when you stopped by and said I was in violation. I had no idea that I was in violation. And now that she gave me a map of where the wetlands are, now I'm saying I plead guilty. I'm in violation.
So in your packet, you have the notice of noncompliance and then pictures with the mass mapper that gives an idea.
So now you suggested that I hire somebody to delineate the wetlands, but we already have the map that pretty much delineates the wetlands. So what I'm saying to the board is,
Sir, as I tried to explain before, it doesn't delineate the wetlands, the exact wetlands. It's just a map that is overlaid on different maps. So it's just a general idea of where the wetlands are.
This is the
but
general
it's-
idea that you gave this one?
Yes, it's
Okay.
from the Mass Mapper or Mass GIS.
Okay.
So why I asked for a wetland specialist to go out to your property is because you have to field identify exactly where the wetlands line is on your property.
Correct. And I didn't know any of this until you taught me this, you told me about this. So when I was cutting the trees down, I had no idea. You know, I was just clearing trees out next to my house. I had no idea what the situation was until you told me.
Right, understood. So I gave you a list of,
And I said that I'm willing to do like whatever you guys want me to do to rectify it. Well, I'm gonna hire someone to delineate the wetlands. And I put the barriers up that you told me to with the silk fence. I did that. And then if you guys gave me permission, I'd like to grade it and either plant grass there, or even if you want me to put some trees back or something. Because I want it to look nice for my neighbors. Because right now that I pulled all the stumps out, it looks like crap over there, and I want to like make it look
You'll have to wait,
aesthetically pleasing for my neighbors.
you'll have to wait till we get the wetland delineation from
Yes.
your wetland specialist before you do any more work,
Right,
okay?
okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back in touch with you, and then I'll come back in front of the board, I guess, and then if you guys say I can grade it and plant grass, put back a few trees. I'll put trees in that corner that's near the wetlands. I'll put some trees back there so that I'm up out of the wetlands, if that's what you want me to do.
right, the purpose of delineating the wetlands is just to see if you were in the wetlands or just on the boundary of the wetlands, so.
Yeah.
So we can figure out that.
And according to
that-
this map, if this is accurate, I'm right on the boundary of the wetlands, so.
Okay. Any questions on the board, Bailey?
No.
Doug?
No questions.
Edie? Al?
No problem.
Nope,
Betsy?
thanks for
Okay.
coming in, no.
Okay?
Okay, so
I'll be back in touch with you after I get this delineation done.
you told me you reached out to a couple
I
people.
have a company and there's a few that are getting back to me.
Okay,
so-
all right, yes, and just keep the silt fence up
Yeah.
until you.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
To do after that.
All right.
thank you very much.
You only need this file.
What do we got next?
Okay,
Deborah
so
Drive.
710, we have Deborah Drive, looks like that one. Yeah, for some reason I'm having. Oh, wait, okay. In order. Yeah, that's okay. It's, there you go.
Walpole Commonwealth of Massachusetts Conservation Commission requests for determination of applicability in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given intent of John Glosser to replace an existing septic system within 100-foot buffer zone of wetlands located at 14 Deborah Drive, Walpole, Mass., Map 2, Lot 26. The application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office or at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in person October 9th, 2024, beginning at 7:10 PM. All interested persons request to be present. Okay. If there's anything to read in here?
No.
Nothing? Okay. Nothing for the record, so representing the applicant,
Mr. Chairman, my name is John Glosser, Glosser Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. And I'm the applicant, but I'm essentially representing William and Daniel O'Brien, who purchased the property from Daniel Cunningham, who was the previous owner. Some of you may recognize the name. He was on some of the boards in town. So the location of the property is 14 Deborah Drive. And so to get to Deborah Drive, right, we go up past Bubbling Brook, take a left, head west on 109, and then Apple Tree Lane's on the left. And if you just stay on Apple Tree Lane, it actually sort of turns to the right and then turns into Deborah Drive. And we've done, I know I've been, at least in front of the board, on one other property on Deborah Drive. I think that was 16 Deborah Drive. But this location's a little bit different. As you can see, the front of this, and we took this from the GIS, similar to what Landis was just saying. We took this from the GIS just to show it, except for the part up here near where the construction's was going to be, where we actually hired Karen Skin-Petroni to flag that, and the same with the area behind the house. But this whole area, I walked this with Megan Leary, the Board of Health agent. This whole area actually is wetlands, and then there's a drain easement here. So the front of this lot, it has zero area available for a septic system. And, it sort of appears that this was maybe some high land back, this house was built in the 70s, so probably prior to the current regulations. And prior probably even to the Clean Waters Act. So this looks like this this driveway was filled in, and then they had a little bit of area here, and then this was actually filled because our test pits show that both these test pits on the top is about 4 feet of fill. So, and right now, there's a leach bed right in this area right here. So there really wasn't any other choice here. So we're showing a septic system here. We're keeping it pretty much as close to the house as we can reasonably get it. This septic system's going to be raised up a little bit. I have to stay 20 feet from the house anyway because I'm above the basement floor. So I'm about 25 feet back. So it's kind of raised up, and we don't like to stick it. This is a raised ranch, so we really can't raise the plumbing or anything like that. And we really can't. Want to leave a little room between the house and the bed, which is going to probably be a foot above the existing ground. So come out of the house, septic tank, new septic tank, 1,500-gallon septic tank, 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and pump up into a leach bed. It's a Presby leach bed. And that's it. So we're showing a compost sock going around the back of the construction. We also just put some notes on here about stockpiling of material. So, as I may have told you in the past, typically these septic system guys don't want to pick the dirt up twice. So they're going to dig this out, what we call the overdig, dig it down to the gravel soil. They take all of that stuff away. The only stuff they leave is anything they need to backfill here. And there isn't really a lot that they're going to leave on site. Then they're going to fill this with sand, put in the leach field, and then cover it over. And the same with the septic tanks. They take that soil away, except what's needed to backfill. They don't leave it there because they don't want to pick it up twice. And the other thing is dewatering. So we wouldn't have to dewater for the leach field, but we may have to dewater for the septic tank and the pump chamber, even though from where we saw the water table, right now it looks like we would not have to dewater, but depending on the time of year when they get there. So we just put some notes on there. We put a dirt bag. We kind of show it, but basically we tell them to see the agent if they're going to do any dewatering, just to make sure what they're going to do is sufficient in the agent's eyes, so to speak. So that's about it. This needs to get done, or else this property would be sort of in violation of Title V requirements. It's a failed system, if I didn't say that.
Okay, thank you. Landis?
Yeah, this is a really tight site for,
It's pretty tough.
yeah. And I'm familiar with that area. I know that there's a lot of areas that aren't shown as wetlands on the Mass mapper. Or, you know, kind of like all around his property and the next door property.
Right.
So one thing is I would extend the erosion control, I'm assuming you're coming in from the driveway. It's really
Right.
kind of tight around either side of the house as well.
Right, we started it here, so do you want us to bring it down to the driveway here?
Yeah, I would bring it all the way to
Okay.
where the mini excavator would come in that way, or?
Yeah, they're not gonna use
They would just run a mini excavator back and forth and the truck would be parked in the driveway?
no, they're gonna bring a truck back.
Are they gonna bring, there's enough space?
There's enough room there. They don't, believe me,
It's narrow. I walked
it's
up there.
narrow, but there's enough room there.
Definitely extend the erosion control up to the driveway.
Okay,
And then my other, so I noticed on your request for determination, you're asking for whether the area depicted on the plan referenced below is an area subject to jurisdiction, definitely, yes. And then whether the boundaries of resource area depicted on the plan reference are accurate, and then whether the work depicted is under the subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and the ordinance. I think we've always given a -3 for these projects because we wanted to move forward. It's a failed septic system, it needs to be done. The only thing I had a little problem with is the B, that whether the boundaries resource area booked on the plan are accurate.
yeah, so you can
So that I would.
condition your,
Yeah, that I would condition.
yeah,
That,
okay.
understanding the project needs to move forward, but I wouldn't want to give a 3-year determination on the wetlands
Yeah.
line in case the new people want to come in and do an addition or
Yeah.
something like that, because I really think it needs to be looked at a little more thoroughly.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, you can condition it by saying that the wetland line has not
Right.
been
That-
verified.
That's what I would recommend to the
Yeah.
commission.
Sure.
Anything else? Bailey?
No questions, thank you.
Doug?
I see the construction entrance on, I guess it's the northeast side of the house.
Right.
Is that also the way, in the future, a septic service truck would get there to pump it out?
Well, the truck would sit in the driveway and they would just run the hoses around. They don't need to drive right to the septic tank.
Okay, so it's close enough to do that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. That's my only question.
Media?
The 25-foot no disturb, what's that area like? Is that grass or what is it?
No, it's all wooded. So we're not actually, I think the draftsman took a little leeway, but we're not going to be going even into the wooded with the compost sock.
Okay. Are there any plaques or anything, anything there?
We didn't show any.
Okay, I think there should be. We can decide how many, but yeah, okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, the only thing with that is I
The line.
don't want to, I
Yeah.
don't think the
Well-
commission should approve the line yet, because I think it needs to be looked at a little better.
Okay, so after that, can we say that? Once it's established or verified?
They're not going to be doing any further delineation, right? For this?
You said are they, well, they might.
Yeah, I just want to, before recommending the commission approve the wetlands line, I would want to go out there with the botanist and look at the soils in different areas, so.
So if and when that happens, they should put,
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to add on to the house, they got to get a building permit, so it's going to trigger a whole other sort of,
Right now,
this is
they're
just a
not.
Determination,
Okay,
so
all right,
it's
all right,
it's
that's-
kind of hard to, I'm sorry, Chairman, didn't mean to override.
Okay, so we can condition that is not a verified wetland line.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting. In any other activity, they definitely have to come back, and if they're gonna do anything else, there definitely should be no alteration plaques there.
Okay, all right.
I agree with that.
So that,
I'm not sure where they should go.
that's fine.
so would our determination would state that no additional work can be done without a filing? Or,
Right, and the determination is not a verification of the wetlands
Yeah.
line.
okay. Is that all right then?
Sure.
Al?
Okay, something that hasn't been mentioned here. First question is this house on town water?
Yes.
Okay. In the past, that whole neighborhood up there, Apple Tree Lane and such, was on wells. And the wells became contaminated from a gas station that was on Route 109. And that forced the town to supply town water system up in that area. So my only concern about this project, I think it's necessary, is if they're digging and pumping water, be aware and take precautions if they're finding any gasoline mixed in the water. But that's why that area has town water, because the groundwater was contaminated with gasoline. Okay, so that's would be important for a guy driving a machine that could cause sparks and ignite.
Yeah. I'll just say, Al, I mean, we did hit water, even though, you know, we're pretty much in a drought. We did hit water in our test pits, so, and there was no odor of gasoline or oil or anything, so I don't think that there's any, I'll certainly alert, it's probably going to be Kenny Jones, I'll certainly alert him to the concern, but we didn't,
Well, as you pump water, it could draw
No,
it from
I understand.
place. So I just want them to be aware, and I don't want them to be caught and have a bad accident because they didn't know,
Right.
okay? That's all, Jack.
Okay,
No comment.
okay. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments, please identify yourself for the record. Hearing none, someone make a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600. All right, so we need to condition the wetland line, and you could just add a note on there to caution with, from any excavation, to be aware that there could be volatile organics.
Okay.
How many years ago was that?
That was 30 years ago.
I don't remember.
It was around.
I remember
Because I
the,
don't remember the gas station there. so
I remember
think
this.
it's
It was around,
The gas station is where the new condos were just recently.
Remember the gas station there?
Oh, okay.
yeah. It was probably around before 1990. Been a while. We have something to sign,
1981? Thank you. You're welcome.
okay?
Did you vote for -3?
Oh, we voted to close the hearing, so we'll make a motion, we conditioned it, but also make this a -3.
So
Is
moved.
that a
Second.
motion? All in favor?
Aye.
600. Yes, we voted.
Yes.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Moving right along.
Moving right along.
Shannon.
Thank you, John.
Was it advertised?
It was, it was advertised, yes. So it was a joint advertisement with the notice of intent and the land disturbance permit.
Public hearing, Town of Walpole Conservation Commission, notice of intent and land disturbance permit. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and Walpole Stormwater Management Bylaw, notice hereby given the intent of Daniel Voss, Kearsarge, ASGM LLC, to construct solar panels within the 100-foot buffer zone with over 40,000 square feet of disturbance located at Norfolk County Agricultural School, 400 Main Street, Walpole, Mass., map 13, lot 166 and 167. Application and plans may be viewed at the Conservation Commission office or at www.walpole-ma.gov/Conservation Commission. Public hearing in the above matter will be held person September 25th, 2024, beginning 7:15 p.m. All interested persons requested present. Hearing's been opened and continued.
So we have these comments from the Board of Health, Town Engineer,
Okay.
and
It's from the Board of Health. Will not be meeting before the comments are due September 25th. Therefore, Health Department would like to comment that they have no concerns at this time. This is from Assistant Town Engineer. Reference made to the plan entitled Norfolk County Agricultural High School Solar Project by Weston and Sampson Engineers, Inc., dated September 24, 2024, which the following comments are made. Number one, you would please be quiet in the audience. Thank you. On sheet V101, Phillip Road is mislabeled as Walden Drive. Sheet V101, abutting properties on the south side of Phillip Road, ownership should be shown. I asked you to be quiet, or go outside if you want to talk. Assumed soil conditions under the stockpiles to be removed should be verified with test pits. The engineering department will require a street opening permit, a trench permit, and a curb cut permit. This is from William Hamilton. Next meeting, Conservation Commission, October 9th, 7:15. The taxpayers of Norfolk County, you and me, our taxes will pay for the cleanup. The polluters will take their money and leave Norfolk County, and you and me are holding the bag. The polluters won't be responsible. Medfield needs to be notified to protect their millions of gallons of drinking water threatened like Walpole's by these solar panels. I don't want to drink contaminated water until it can be made drinkable, as happened before, and our drinking water is still being treated by previous contamination, still being removed by treatment to remove the previous contamination. Please come to the meeting. I need your help. This is terrible. Walpole's drinking water is being threatened. Walpole must save its drinking water that children drink it in school. It's from William Hamilton, RTM of Precinct 5. That's it on
Yes.
comments? Okay. Representing the applicant?
Is this broadcasting?
Is it work? It's on?
How's that?
Yeah, we're on.
All right.
Yeah. we
Okay,
have-
terrific.
Okay.
Dan Voss from Kearsarge Energy. Thank you, Chair. I'm here with Rob Bukowski from Weston and Sampson. Rob will be presenting today and has appeared before the board in the past. This project's, or the submission's in relation to an agricultural solar project that we are working on with the county in the north pasture of the agricultural school. The solar project will encompasses around about 7 acres of the land, about 5.5 acres of current pasture, and about 1.5 acres of area that's currently wooded. It's been approved, or at least been through a predetermination process with the state to confirm its applicability as an agricultural project, which basically means that the haying operations and other growing and agricultural operations that are occurring right now in that field will continue, and it's been designed to allow for that. The reason for the two applications is because through the construction process, we will be disturbing an area of property that would require a land disturbance permit. And then the NOI is because the access road coming into the property will need to widen that a little bit to comply with requirements of the Walpole Fire Department. And so that's triggering an NOI for that little stretch of road that we're going to have to widen that's in the buffer of the stream. So that's an overview. You have put forward a design that is the result of a number of public meetings back in 2021 and 2022 that occurred prior to the county actually signing the agreement for the project that incorporated adjustments to the layout, offsets from boundary lines, the proposed tree screen in order to respond to concerns of the neighbours in the area. So with that, I'll hand over to Rob. He's got a series of charts up here that he can walk you through just to explain the project.
Can I ask just a question?
Yeah, go.
Okay, just a quick question.
Yeah.
In your notice of intent, the scope of work is 14 acres, and you just said it was 7.
So the
what is it?
solar array itself sits on 7 acres, and so the overall limit of disturbance erosion control system is going to encompass around about 14 acres, and it also includes the access road.
The proposed activity as presented tonight is 14 acres?
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The total area.
All right, great.
The final project's on a small area.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Yep. Hi, everyone, Rob Bukowski, Weston Sampson. Can everyone see this okay? I have 11 by 7, so this will help.
The smaller ones might be good, because it can be a hassle to turn all these big pages.
Do you want to shift this further up?
Well,
I got
if
plenty.
you want them in front of us, it might be good.
You can pass that now.
Those like-
Alan, I can share about.
Do for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
I just gotta take them out.
Thank you. These are labeled differently than the set, here it is, C 102, okay. All right, just tell us what sheet you're on, so that,
This is actually C102.
okay.
We just added a little bit of color, just to highlight some of the areas of interest.
So these are in addition to the large site plan set that,
Yeah, we included these as an appendix to the response to comments. But it's the same line work as C102. So I'll just get into a little bit more detail. As Dan mentioned, it's an existing agricultural field where they hay. So the idea is to put this tracking solar system at a height that's high enough so that they can still get their equipment underneath and continue to operate the field as a hay field. The main access will be actually off Fisher Street through the agricultural school. Dan had mentioned this section of road. The blue line is the 200-foot riverfront area. The orange line is the 100-foot EBW buffer, and then the red line is the 25-foot road disturbed. This road is currently about 12 feet wide. Per the fire department requirements, they're requesting it to be 20 feet wide, and they're also requesting a turnout, and that turnout is right over the side of the road within that riverfront area. So really, as far as impacts to resource areas, buffer zones, that's it. It's the widening of the access road. The access road will continue up to where the proposed equipment pad is, south of the array. From here, this lighter gray road is actually just a 2-track road in the field now. You can just basically see 2 tire tracks, so that would continue there. There is about 2.5 acres of tree clearing that's gonna be done here. One thing to note is that the way this tree clearing line cuts, it's at the peak of this hill, so basically at the ridge, so that everything within that tree clearing area will flow to the west towards the site. We do plan on putting erosion controls around the tree clearing area as well as perimeter erosion controls. Stormwater management will be through 2 things, a vegetated filter strip next to the wetland line. It's an existing field, so really the proposed improvements are just the driving of the posts and then the equipment pad. There's no proposed grading within the field. And then the other thing is there's gonna be a shallow stormwater trench to collect some of the runoff from the equipment pad area, the gravel turnout, and the access road. In response to the comments that the engineering department had, we did do test pits out there to confirm, and Chris Johnson was out there to look at that and observe them. We did update V101 to add those abutters and fix that street name. That's a general overview. I don't know if anybody has any questions or if you want me to get into more detail about any of those things.
I think, Rob, the base plan was the plan that was from the ANRAD delineation last year.
For the wetland.
Well, yeah, so
Yeah. So, yeah, there was an ANRAD plan for this.
Is there a plan that shows the solar panels?
So just so it's clear to the commissioners and the audience, there's 2 permits that have been applied for. One, a notice of intent, order of conditions under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and local bylaw, and that's any activity within 100 feet of the wetlands, 200 feet of the river, which you've described as the only activity within that jurisdiction is down here by the access road.
Correct, yeah, the access road improvements. And one thing I'll note is there's an existing gravel access road that runs through here now, so we're just simply widening that to meet the fire department requirements.
So it's existing, I think what I read was 16 feet, you're widening it to 20?
Right, I think it's 12. About.
It's 12 and
Yeah,
you're
it
widening it
varies
to
a
20.
little bit, the existing, but yeah, 20.
And you're putting in a water line?
Um,
Putting in a water line?
No, there's no
No.
water lines,
Oh, you're not extending the water line?
there's no water.
I thought the fire department wanted you to put in the water line.
I'll just help up on the map. So, the water line. is
You want to
the-
take the microphone with you, please?
Is it on?
Yeah,
Not working? Use the other one?
How's that? Good? Okay, great. So for the fire department, what we've proposed and agreed with the fire department is that currently, just down by the corner here, past the equipment shed on the existing site, there's a hydrant, and we're going to extend that hydrant just down to the cow barn on the corner here. And then we're going to add what's called a dry standpipe up here on the corner of the solar array that'll run to a hydrant location here adjacent to the array. And that was so that we didn't disturb the buffer area with any trenching. And this little pull out here is so that the fire department can stage their truck just here and then run hose. So they'll be connecting to the hydrant adjacent to the barn here, and then staging a pumping truck here to run hose and connect to the dry pipe up the top. So that provides them with high pressure water to the site. So that was the water pipe that was referred to. Yeah.
so I'm just trying to separate the 2 permits a little bit so it's clear. So there's the Wetlands Protection Act, the work within the buffer zone, which appears to only be down here by the road. And then the other permit is the land disturbance permit, because you're altering 40,000 square feet or more of land. And under the land disturbance permit, you also have to look at stormwater management and calculations. So could you could you, for the commissioners as well as the abutters, go through a little bit, the debris pile, what you're gonna do with the
Sure.
debris pile, and how you came to the end result of what you're dealing with, stormwater?
Sure. So, I mean, the main component for the stormwater management, that the field is going to be maintained as is. It's just this 2.5 acres of wooded area that's going to be converted to meadow post-construction. The main thing that I just want to point out is I think I had mentioned there's going to be a sediment barrier that goes around the tree clearing limits. We want to make sure that that's there once the trees are cleared and that area is disturbed, so that any runoff that comes onto, basically disturbed land, that runoff and any soil that's contained with it gets captured by that sediment basin. There is a large debris pile here, so what we did in our stormwater model, and this was discussed by one of our engineers with Chris Johnson as well, and he agreed to it, was that there's something called a curve number, which is basically how much of the water runs off versus infiltrates. In that area where the debris pile is, we didn't use what we use for the rest of the site, which would be like a meadow condition, just because the debris pile is a lot of wood, so the water would tend to run off that more than it would if it was meadow. So we adjusted the curve number in that, but the idea is the removal of that debris pile and then the planting of meadow will allow more groundwater to infiltrate in that area than it does now. And then, so our modeling showed no increase in post peak rates of runoff without doing the stormwater trench here, but we added this in just as another stormwater management method, just downstream of where the majority of the impervious area is, being the equipment pad and the road turnout. And the two of the test pits were done in the area of that proposed trench. I'll just reiterate again that any water that hits within this limit of work within the tree area will flow to the west, so it's not flowing to the east towards any of the abutting residences.
So currently the flow of the stormwater is from what direction?
It goes east to west
So-
for the most
so-
part. It comes
So
down
through the
this way.
field towards the wetlands, the
Yep,
large wetlands?
yeah, and this green hatch shows the vegetative filter strip for stormwater management, but the wetland is just beyond that. So yeah, it flows towards the
That's
wetland.
what the existing flow, and that's what the proposed flow will remain.
Correct, yeah, there's no change in proposed flow directions because there's no regrading. The grades within the field will remain as is.
Well, I was out with Chris, both Chris and I went out and took a look at the soil tests, which you put on the revised plans, and the pile, debris pile. So I think we both agreed that the soil holes that were dug were consistent with the soil map. But I think what we both agreed is that we don't know what's under the debris pile, because the holes were only dug kind of around the area. So one of the things would be, if the commission approves this and conditions it, is to do some more test pits underneath the pile once it's removed.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, it's a huge pile, and
Right.
from my understanding, it's been there for a really long time. So I think there was discussions of taking the material in the pile and sort of distributing it out in the area where the trees are gonna be cut. So another concern is what is actually in that pile. So I would recommend, if the commission approves, that be reviewed really closely as to what is in the pile. A concern is invasive species. If they've been dumping stuff there for years, they may be invasive species, seeds or something, and we don't want it spread out around
Sure.
the site.
Understood.
So that was one of my concerns. So what's underneath the pile, soils, is it gonna act the way you've modeled your stormwater? That I think more information needs that to be looked at, and that can be conditioned. And then also what to do with that pile once it's broken up and removed.
I can confirm that the plan isn't to distribute the pile throughout the forested area. It's to remove it or process it on site, and that's been discussed with the school team. But if it's not desired that it be processed on site, then we would be removing it, taking it off site. It's largely wooded waste. And so that's one of the benefits of the project from a county and school perspective.
So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that, so last meeting, the hearing was just continued, there was some discussion sort of on process. It was agreed that the applicant would re-notify abutters using the full abutters list, and I added a couple of names that seemed like it should have been on the list. That test pits would be conducted out on the site, and there was discussions about putting the infiltration trench in near the areas where there is impervious surface, even though the stormwater report showed that there was actually a slight decrease rather than increase. And then revised plans that we're looking at tonight and that are up on the screen were submitted today. Yeah, so the two concerns I just brought up is having to do with the debris pile, so that I believe can be conditioned. The only other suggestion that I would have is the vegetative screen, which you have shown on one of your plans, up by Walden Drive, and then along, I think it's Susan, that they actually be connected, so that there's screening the whole way along the side. So you have one up by Walden and then one down here by Susan. And I understand that there's vegetation in that little bump out area. but
Yeah, the property is, that abutting, or that abutting area is the county's land. Part of the I wouldn't say concern, but is that it will be put to agriculture, and so they are going to be haying and mowing that. And currently, they mow under the understory along the edge, and so we would putting the screening in areas where it was adjacent to neighbouring houses, but trying not to interrupt the flow of the agricultural process once it kicks off. That was why we had run it along the property line, but then where the county land kicks out, we had not continued the screen because of the existing forested area there.
So it's forested, but if it's forested, it's not hay.
Right, but putting the tree screen in obviously is to plant it adjacent to the existing vegetation, existing trees there. It's going to bump it out into the. You can see that the tree line actually extends in.
Sorry, is there a better view of this? Do you have another map that shows this?
So the map up here, you can see yeah. So let me orient myself here. Yeah. So the tree line here.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
I think if you look at C102 of your large set plans.
Yeah. Yeah. So the tree line here is to add additional screening beyond the 100 feet of woods. There's 100 feet of woods, and then that we've kept along here, and then this is the existing wood line along City Drive, and so we've committed to putting trees along this section here, along the abutters property lines. This section here is all county land, this wooded area here, and so the planting trees here or in here is not going to screen any abutters. In fact, it's the county property. On the north end, we're screening along all the property lines here. So I was just noting that the reason we had left this open was A, because this is all county land here, and this is up to I would estimate it's up to 300 feet of woods there as a buffer already, and that we just want to limit plantings in the field area to the extent we can. So we are planting these, which will limit the movement of the vehicles along the edges. Currently, this canopy is obviously an overhang. Currently, they hay underneath that, all the way up to it. So that's why we left that area open. A, because it's not buffering, it's not bordering any neighbouring properties. B, because there's up to 300 feet of existing forested buffer there. And C, just to minimise limiting
So I bring it up as for the commission to consider, and perhaps there's some butters that live in that area that will have something to say. I know that's really different if it's trees like maples and oaks that drop their leaves in the winter, that there'll be a considerable difference between a field and a solar field, even 300 feet. So to have a arborvitae or something like that, which is a year-round buffer, may make a difference to these people that live in this area. So that's why I bring it up.
Anything else on the
I
limits?
think those are my comments at this point, which are also in my report.
Okay. Bailey?
No comments.
A question, I see the snow storage area, and I assume that's for clearing the access road. That's where they put the snow when they clear the access road? Snow storage area?
Yes, that's right.
So during the winter, do the panels also need to have the snow cleared off of them, or?
No, these are tracking, so they'll rotate east to west, as to maintain exposure to the sun. So as they rotate, the snow
Snow will
will
fall right in place
That's
there?
right, yep.
Okay, that was my only question.
Media?
You said they could hay underneath it. How tall are the panels gonna be?
So the pivot point for the array is at 11 feet. The vehicles that they're using currently for haying, including the baling machinery, range between 8 and 10 feet. And so the pivot point for the panels is at 10 feet, so that when they're operating the machines underneath it, they'll tilt the panels flat or up, so they can mow underneath, rake and bale down the rows.
So the minimum will be,
What's the apex?
Sorry?
Hold it, hold it,
What's the apex?
hold, you,
I'm not done
wait,
yet.
you'll have a chance to
Yeah.
speak.
I will wait, sorry.
Let me finish. So how tall will they be then? That's the minimum. You said 10 feet is the minimum clearance.
That's the
What's-
pivot point, yeah. And
What is the tallest?
yeah, so if it's a single panel tracker, which is what we're looking at right now, it would be a 9-foot long panel, and so basically 4.5 feet at typically 30 degrees will be the maximum, and tilting down to 25 degrees. So 30 degrees, 35 degrees would be the typical maximum tilt on the panel.
So 15, you said add another 4 feet up?
Yeah, let's call it 4 feet. That's probably a reasonable estimate, yeah.
So, okay, so 15 max.
15 feet, yeah. 2 times me.
And how many panels will there be?
So it's 1.5 megawatts. What's the panel count on the? It's around, I want to say it's around 3,000 panels.
3,000 panels,
Yep.
okay. And what will be the duration of the project to install them?
For the construction period, it'll be pretty efficient. So the piles will be driven first. That's a low-impact track machine, low ground pressure. That would typically take, on a project this size, a matter of weeks, so probably a month, call it for that. The panels themselves, let's allow a month to mount the panels, and then after that, the wiring, you would allow another month. We typically look at start to finish for a project this size of 6 months from the day you start. There will be some clearing up front, and there will be some preparation of the of that area for future haying at the end. So there'll be a bit of upfront civil work to clear the trees, and at the end, they're going to be doing prep work on the cleared area so that it's ready for hay.
Okay. So prep work, installation, and so,
I'd say 6 months is a pretty reasonable estimate on these projects from start to everyone off site and cleared up.
and you still have to get all the permits and everything else, so you plan to start in '24 or '25?
Oh, no, 25, yeah,
okay.
yeah. So after your review of the land disturbance permit and the LOI, we'll then go through a site plan process with the town. And we would anticipate, sometime in mid-2025, starting work, yeah.
And are you changing any contours at all?
No, none. The area that we're clearing is going to be unchanged. It'll be cleared and grubbed, but not changing any contours. No.
And in the green area, are there structures that I see in that, or you build, or is that like a?
Yeah. So the site's unfenced, obviously, because they're going to be farming around the panels. But if you have a little look at the area just to the south, if you want to just scroll that up a little, down. Yeah, right. You're good. So at the end of that turnaround, you see a couple of pads, 3 pads. So that's two. What's represented there are basically 2 40-foot storage container-sized pads. That's for the battery. And the other pad is for the transformer and inverter. So that's just equipment. And we fence that off, obviously, because that's gear that we just want to protect everyone from and protect from everyone. So, yeah.
Okay. And, so there'll be transmission lines from that?
So it'll be underground from there until we get to the buffer, and once again, to minimise disturbance in the buffer, we're using just poles to bridge that section where we're going through the buffer, and then we interconnect up close to the existing barn. And so there are existing transmission lines through to the barn area.
Yep.
And they'll be replacing a pole there, and that's where we'll interconnect with the utility.
Okay.
Yeah. I should note also that the layout of the array, if you want to scroll down a little bit so you can get to the north. Oh, sorry. Scroll up a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, there it is. So you see there's a break in the array where in the northwest corner of the array there's a break there, and we show the path going through there. So that's been designed just to make sure that existing access way and any activities that's used for continue. So, for instance, I think there's a Halloween cart hay wagon that goes through there. So that's been designed just so that would just continue as it is.
Okay. With the battery storage, that building, will there be fire suppression or anything like that there?
Yeah, so those systems, and this is subject to fire department review and permitting, obviously, and we'll be going through a process with them. But they have a fire suppression system built in, and they're contained, so fully contained. And then the hydrants are there so that if the fire department wanted them to try and manage the areas around the storage containers, they could. Or alternatively, if there was just a field fire, like a normal, to protect the array against any grass fires or that type of thing, they asked us to extend the reach of the hydrant, which is why we did that.
Okay. The fire suppression, is that dry chemical or some other chemical?
Right, it's like a halon, yeah. So
Style.
yeah. And the systems are designed such that they have intrinsic protection in them, and they're tested to a very high degree to ensure that if there is any issue internally, that the fire suppression system is the kind of the last thing that they rely on, and if that does have to be used, then in addition to that, they have typically the units have the ability to immerse them in water as well, so push water into them if the fire department chose to. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
Al?
First question, you mentioned that the school is going to drive tractors and haying equipment under this solar array.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that the school has to buy new specialized tractors that'll fit under there?
No, that was part of a pretty detailed review by the UMass Amherst and the state, where we took the existing equipment inventory of the school and their current farming methods, and so that was reviewed. The array is, you might note, it's very wide between the rows. It's 21 feet, and the height at 11 feet is designed so their existing equipment can be used, including their existing hay wagons.
Okay, so now, generally, when you operate a hay field correctly, you have to feed it every once in a while. How are they going to feed this hay field?
Same process. They use their existing spreaders on the hay field. 21 feet is the width of a double lane road, and so the equipment they're using for spreading of nutrients, equipment they're using for weed management, equipment being used for mowing, raking, and baling will all be able to be used here. And there's turnarounds at either end of the array with plenty of turning radius for the largest of the equipment. And it's been reviewed by an agricultural expert that consulted with the school just to ensure that all of those activities can be completed. And in fact, the nutrient management of the field was an important part of the state review.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You two gentlemen are here with this project, but we haven't heard anything from the school or from the county commissioners. We don't know whether they approve this or not. Maybe it doesn't matter, because now you say that solar panels are an agricultural product now, and I never believed that, because I grow a big garden and I couldn't get my garden to produce solar panels, but that's
You sure?
you know, that's an interesting thing. But there's some concern about the fact that solar panels are made of materials that could possibly contaminate the groundwater, which is what the town of Walpole uses for its water supply. So that's a concern that I haven't heard addressed. And one of the gentlemen that sent a letter, he was a past selectman, and he's concerned about the water supply. So
Would you like me to respond to that?
what I'm concerned about here is when you cut down these trees produce oxygen, which we need, and they also cool the atmosphere. And, you know, as you cut down trees, you increase the hot zone, and we don't need to do that. That's not a thing going in the proper direction. And then this is a company putting in these solar panels. Never heard of them. And where is the electricity from this going? Is the school going to benefit from the electric supply, or is the town of Walpole? Where is the power going when it's generated here? So those are things that I think about. If it's going to somebody else somewhere else, I don't think that's right either. So I'm concerned about the erosion during
Now, let's get an answer for
construction.
that. Al, you want an answer?
Sure.
Sure. So, so the water supply, well, I think, just looking around, so Bill is here from the county, but I can just very briefly address the first point. This this project has been under review by the county, the town, the school, the community members since 2017. So back in 2022, the county approved it from a contractual standpoint. So we have a contract that was signed at the end of 2022 after a series of public consultation meetings, field walks, redesigns, 8 redesigns of the site. So I think on that first point, the county has spoken about the project, and there is a contract in place approving the solar array, or for this solar array project on that site. With regard to the water supply, at that
Where
time,
does the electricity go? He wants to know where the electricity is going to.
so the electricity is for county and school use. And if the town of Walpole was interested in utilising some of the electricity, we have offered that to the town of Walpole as well on this and prior projects. So it won't leave the boundaries of Walpole. It'll be either used on site or for other county properties, or as I said, you know, we've offered up the supply of the credits to the town as well. The water supply question was raised back in 2021 and 2022, and it was also answered in a series of publicly posted documents. This isn't in the catchment area. The array is of a type. It is not the type that is often, you know, talked about, which is a thin film type that has certain chemicals that folks are worried about. This is glass, silicon, and copper. And so there is no contamination risk from the panels on the farm field. And as I said, it's not in the water catchment area for the town regardless. The cutting down of the trees, we sparingly removing trees, but the trees during the field walk that we completed with members of the school team, it was pointed out that those trees were subject to, and in fact at the time of the field walk there was a large cleanup occurring because a storm had resulted in a number of the trees falling, and they were reaching an age where they would be subject to harvesting anyway. And it's part of the program at the school. They periodically do harvest those trees. And so that was discussed with the school at the time. In terms of the, I'm just looking here, there was a water supply, cutting down the trees, and Kearsarge. Kearsarge has over 80 projects. We're based out of Boston. We're one of the most established solar companies in the Northeast, and we've largely partnered with communities. And so we have many relationships with neighbouring towns. We built the projects at the Norfolk Aggie School that are there now, so the canopy that you see there and the rooftop solar is Kearsarge. We've been in operation since 2009, and so there's no problem there. But in terms of any concern about Kearsarge, we do post a letter of credit, a financial surety, so that removal of the project at end of life, or if is already guaranteed financially, and the town has access to that along with the school.
Okay. When you look at this plan, the area where the green is that you're going to cut the trees.
Yes.
Now, go up the page to the top of that property, and in the top right-hand corner, you see a little strip of land going out an unusual boundary. My recollection is the reason that little strip is there is because there's a spring or a water supply that has been used for cattle for hundreds of years. So that I'm wondering, is that still being used by the school, or what's going on there?
I can't answer whether or not the school's using a water supply up there.
Oh, okay. But that's why that little strip is there, is because of farmers over the centuries used the water from a spring or an active well. Okay, so I'm not happy with cutting down trees. I liked very much the solar panels on the parking lot, and that's where they belong, on parking lots, on roofs, even on roadways. But I don't think they belong on pastures on agricultural land, because we are running out of good agricultural land, and to see it degraded by putting panels on it, I can't understand that they're going to be able to harvest good crops of hay there. That's going to be a problem. Okay, so that's all I have today.
Okay. Betsy?
Yep, I've got some things to say. I thought the county was doing great when it put solar panels on top of the roof of the new parking area. I thought, oh, good, the county's going to be going around to all of its properties that are paved, rooftops, parking areas, maybe even brownfields. I was like, wow, that's great, the county's doing this for us. We're all the towns of the county. This just seems like such a bizarre departure. I can't even imagine what must have happened to make this go forward when what I just said was just so obvious. You say you're in partnership with communities. We're a community, we're Walpole, and is this on behalf of us? Is it on behalf of the surrounding towns? Maybe Medfield's in favor? Who in the actual county is in favor? It doesn't feel like a partnership. It hasn't. I mean, it's been going on for years and years, since 2017, wow. But at no point have I felt as though there's really been a discussion about the benefits of this particular project. Whereas if you had a group in here voting on whether to put panels on the roofs of the Aggie, we'd be like, yeah, do that, and put them everywhere else as well. So I have to say that I've been biased against this project and the way it's come about for quite a while, and it's been a real dilemma for me, because what we're really doing here tonight, because we're the Conservation Commission, is we're voting as to whether you did your stormwater correctly and whether you stayed clear of some wetlands. And Landis has done a brilliant job of working with you for the last half a decade to make that happen. 2017 is 2024 right now. It's like, okay. So I almost feel like I'm going against Landis in saying this, but I was really toying with the idea of, okay, can I vote for this? I'm voting whether you did the stormwater right. Should I vote against it? Well, no, I can't say you didn't do your storm. Should I abstain? I don't know. It's a very concerning project for me, and I don't usually say this. We don't usually have this kind of project. When the rail line comes through, or a highway department comes through, or the utilities come through, they go, no, sorry, town of Walpole, we got to come through. But this, you're the county. We're part of the county. We're the citizens of the county. I really don't understand the whole process that's occurred over the last 5 years or so. So, well, and I know that was way too much to say, Jack. Sorry. See, that's a personal opinion, and that has me really concerned about myself. So.
Okay, thank you. I will add my 2 cents with regard to the removal of, how many acres of wooded land are you
It's
removing?
2.5 acres.
2.5?
Yeah,
Of
and the
woodland.
And the as part of the community consultation, we are adding back more trees than being taken down. So a survey was carried out of that 2.5 acre parcel. In fact, originally the array was deeper into that wooded area, and so we made a commitment to plant back, along with the county, trees that thoroughly offset the number that are being taken down. So in terms of planting back along the boundary line there, and in addition to the other project screening that's being done at North Street, The aggregate is additional trees over and above what's being removed on this 2.5 acre patch.
Is that both in number and in capability of storing carbon?
It's in number, but in terms of the carbon sequestration, we have, and I could pull up the numbers if you'd like, if you have a second, but we have obviously calculated the equivalence of the 1.5 megawatts of the solar, but also the pasture capability to fix the carbon, and from a quantitative standpoint, the value, trees have a variety of values, but just from a carbon fixing standpoint, we're very much in the positive in terms of offsetting carbon by doing this project.
Okay. Each of these panels, you say there's no chemicals in them?
So the panels themselves are basically glass, glass coating, a silicon wafer, copper and aluminum wiring, and so there have been concerns raised with other technologies that have certain toxic chemicals in them that are used in other applications, but these PV solar panels that are manufactured for this purpose and that you see on the schools and on the canopies, glass, copper, aluminum, silicon wafers. Yep.
And where are they manufactured?
We haven't purchased the panels for this site, but a lot of the panels that we've used in the last 24 months are manufactured down in Georgia.
So they're manufactured in the United States?
Yeah, so they're assembled in the United States, and there's an increasing number of panel manufacturers that are assembling their panels in the United States, and there's a move to manufacture the silicon cells here as well.
Okay. How does the power get transferred from the panel to, you're storing it in you have battery storage?
So there's a battery storage system here, correct? And so the electricity will to simplify it, the electricity is going to flow into the battery storage and then flow from the battery
How
storage.
does it get from the panel to the storage area?
Oh, so that'll be wiring that runs along the rows themselves. So
The wiring is above ground.
right. So it's and any arrays that you see above ground, the wiring sits bound in what's called the racking system of the panel itself. So it won't be accessible, but it sits in the racking system itself, and then between the array and the pad, it'll drop down and come up through conduit into the pad. So it's
There's no wiring in the field that could be disturbed by the agricultural equipment.
right. There'll be in the little strip between the array and the equipment pad. The wiring will be aggregated and will run underground there, but it'll run at a depth that is not a risk to agriculture.
But that's the only place where it will be underground, is near the pad at that, what is that, the southern end?
With the design that we currently have, those operating questions, so moving from row to row, there'll be some areas where it will have to go from row to row, but the majority of the wiring will run along the racks. And where it does have to go between rows, it'll go deep underground, in the same way that a water supply line or any other utility would run underground in an area that's subject to agriculture.
Okay.
Yep. And that'll be flagged as well, so they'll be in known areas. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record. And please ask you that you keep your comments and questions directly to what is the subject of this hearing. So, Mr. Hamilton, would you like to speak? And anybody does, please come up to the microphone and identify yourself, and also sign in on the sheet there, please. You have to sign in first.
Just my ex, is that good enough?
That'll be good, yeah. I've verified your ex before, it's okay.
I've attended many meetings on this subject, at the Aggie School, at the Selectmen's Meeting Room, and I'm concerned, now, no one's mentioned, I understand that this is in Area 4 of the Water Resource Protection Overlay District. Is that not true?
I don't know.
I think that question had been previously asked and answered, so I can revalidate it here, but in previous Q&A, it was communicated it was not part of the overlay district.
Say that the answer, it is or it isn't?
Previously, and once again, I haven't checked, I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's been confirmed that it's not part of the overlay district.
Okay.
That can be confirmed, I'm sure, obviously.
Okay.
Well,
No, go ahead.
I was told that it was, and that's the recharge area for our water supply for Mine Brook. And I'm very concerned because we have, and anyone who's been to the Board of Health and read the Hunter reports on the contamination of School Meadow Brook and the well field there, I mean, it's alarmingly high. It's borderline to allow it to be drinking water. So we get 2.5 million gallons out of School Meadow Brook and 1 million out of Mine Brook. If we lose School Meadow Brook, we're only going to have 1 million gallons out of Mine Brook.
Okay, so what is your concern for additional contamination?
Well,
So sorry, so I'm just showing the gentleman the map with the overlay districts. And Area 4, I think, is the one that you're talking about here, the green. You can see it's these couple of areas over here and this area to the north, and the project that we're looking at is over here. So it's miles away.
when I was looking at that, the water runs into the recharge area.
I can't talk about the hydrology, but your question was whether or not this is in the overlay district, and it's.
Well, that's my concern.
Determination of this board.
So
Okay,
I think that
well,
answers
let's
your
move
question.
on. What is your problem with contamination?
Well,
What?
I don't believe that we can convert sunlight to electricity with silver and copper. I think there are a lot of other ingredients that go into that. And my understanding is they're very hazardous materials in these solar panels. Now, if I'm being told that these solar panels don't have hazardous material, I'm glad to hear that, but I don't believe it.
Okay,
And these solar panels, if they deposit this hazardous material in this area and it runs to our aquifer, then we have a serious problem.
okay.
Because some of this hazardous material is difficult, if not impossible, to take out of the drinking water. Like we couldn't take the gasoline out of Apple Tree Lane, which you talked about earlier. So I think, and now what I've been told at these previous meetings is these gentlemen will not be responsible for the cleanup. We in Walpole, as taxpayers, will be holding the bag. We will be responsible for cleaning up this material that falls from these solar panels.
Okay.
And,
So
and
you said- yeah, you made your point, and I also want to keep it pertinent to conservation issues. I think you've made your point.
well,
What, do you have any other points?
well, I think it's very important for the conservation members to have knowledge of the potential harm to our water supply. Because
mentioned
if,
that.
if you have to bend one way or the other, I would hope that the Conservation Commission would bend to any denials that you can make, because the people who are proposing this walk away free at the end of the project.
You've made the point. Is there any, do you have any other points you'd like to make? I know there's some other people who would like to also comment. Do you have any other points?
Well,
You made this one.
there's nowhere else for us to go for more water. They built the preserve on our other wellfield area, which is an area too, that never should have been built on, and that was allowed to be built on, so that's gone. We have no other place to put a well field for drinking water. The MWRA has met several times with the town, and they're not going to pick up 2.5 to 3 million gallons of water to give to Walpole. So this is a very important point. Our water supply is very important, and I hope you consider that when you vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else, please identify yourself for the record? And sign in, please.
Sure.
Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity for the audience to speak on this. I'm just going to make one comment and then quickly move on to the topic, since I understand the time and others may want to talk. So just want to comment,
Sorry,
yes.
can you just identify yourself for the record, please?
Oh, sure. Hemali Patel.
Thank you.
I'm at 12 Susan Drive. So yes, the county, and I'm just wondering, same as well, what has the county done about this? We all feel like we're part of the county. And to respond to the comments that the presenter had made, that it was reviewed by the committee, the county has spoken on this before. And yes, we had multiple meetings in 2021 and 2022. However, none of the abutters, never mind many residents within the town, feel like we were listened to. So they did hear, they have the meetings, they have us speak, we had raised multiple concerns, but they still went about doing what they had to do. It was just a checkbox, that's what we felt, and we never felt like we were heard or understood as far as our concerns go. So I just want to put that on the record. Coming to the point, so what I heard so far is that we are going to cut 2.5 acres of trees. We talked about the panels. There are 3,000 panels that are proposed to be installed. We talked about what happens when there is snow on the panels, and we understood that the panels sort of shift left and right, and the snow comes down and it gets melted. So the context for this question that I have is about the water management, the stormwater management. So now we do get good amount of snow. There are 3,000 panels who are going to have water, melted water underneath them. And I am just wondering, has that been accounted into the stormwater management plan that is currently proposed for these solar panels? I'm also wondering about that and heavily concerned about that, knowing what just happened in the neighboring town. So I don't know if the commission knows or if you have looked into it, but there were similar solar panels put in Plainville, and there were severe issues with flooding in the neighborhood. There is an article published that I hope everybody gets the chance to look, if not already. And my concern is that has this stormwater management plan been reviewed against the stormwater management plan that was proposed, reviewed, and approved by the town of Plainville, because it severely failed. And so what is the difference between two plans, and how is this better than that? Because I don't want to put ourselves as abutters or the town into a system that is not proven to be better than what we already saw failed.
Okay.
I can talk to that.
Go ahead.
The main difference is the amount of tree clearing here is significantly less than Plainville. Plainville was cleared, the area was disturbed, they got a big rain event, and everything flowed down the hill. As I mentioned before, at this site, the proposed tree clearing goes to a ridge, so that everything from that tree clearing area would flow to the west, onto the site, and not towards any of the abutting properties.
Is there a possibility to request that an independent assessment be done of the stormwater management plan? Because we can take their word, but given the history we have with this company and the county commissioners, we as abutters don't have any trust. I'm going to be very honest and transparent. We do not understand why this is being done. We have never been explained why this is being done. I know the town of Walpole have offered additional or alternate sites to do this project, but it was declined. And I'm trying to understand why that site was declined. If the intent is to put solar panels, there are other ways to put solar panels. They're on the rooftops, as we have talked about. They are in properties that we feel deemed and appropriate to put solar panels. Why is the county stuck on putting solar panels in middle of residential area without giving us any explanation?
Yeah. I don't know, the stormwater management review was done locally. You can address that, Landis.
Yeah, so the town engineering department, specifically the assistant town engineer, reviewed the stormwater management report. So they provided with us a stormwater management report of which they did calculations of the area based on DEP's standards for stormwater calculations. So that was reviewed by the engineering department, and it was also reviewed by me. And because there's not a lot of additional impervious surface, and Mr. Bukowski was explaining, maybe you could go into a little more detail of why they're not putting in stormwater basins to manage the stormwater, because it's not necessary. What you look at with your calculations, if there's an increase in the rate, there's always going to be the same water. There's always going to be the same snow. It's how that water gets from upland to the lowlands. That's what you look at. You don't want to increase in the rate of runoff, so you don't want the water to move faster from the upland to the wetlands, because that could cause flooding. Water moves faster if there's more impervious surface, if there's more pavement. And you don't want to increase volume, so you want the water to move to the same watersheds in existing conditions than in proposed conditions. That's what the engineer was looking at, and these are standards that are put out by DEP of how you go about that, how you input the data into a modeling system, a CAD system, and how they generate these numbers with different curve numbers, depending on the site, if it's pasture, if it's treed, if it's certain grass and other grass. And the only difference was between the debris pile and the tree cutting. And if I'm saying this right, you can jump in, Rob, at any point.
Yeah, no,
Is that they
thank you.
almost cancel each other out, so the calculations in the end also put a decrease in the volume and the rate, not an increase.
So we have your assurance that this will not create any flooding issues?
I cannot give you that assurance, no. I can say that the stormwater report was reviewed as it's reviewed by any other projects, and they have met the standards.
I can add just one thing to clarify a little bit. The main thing here, and another difference between the site and Plainville, is that by design, we're not concentrating runoff. So the grades aren't changing. You know, the field as it is now, the contours will remain, so we're not changing any flow patterns.
Just when you say concentrating the runoff, you mean?
Yeah, so channelizing it. So if, for instance, you see some other development sites and you'll see swales along the perimeter, and then the swales basically take all the runoff, combine it into one channel, and then deliver it into a basin. We're not doing that here. The purpose is to keep the flow the same as it is, keep it spread out, very minimal impervious area from the posts. Really, it's just the equipment pad, and for that and that section of the roadway where the turnout is, we're proposing to put a stormwater trench in there. So the stormwater trench is sort of above and beyond what the calculation showed.
Based on one of the comments that was mentioned earlier, that, we have listened to the community, we met with them, and it was accounted for, and you made some adjustments. Can you help me understand, what did you hear from the community, and based on that, what adjustments did you make?
I don't know if that's pertinent to conservation.
Okay.
These were discussions, you said this started back in 2017? Not 1970. You're not old enough. But since 2017, there's been meetings, hearings, et cetera. Is that correct from?
Okay, I understand. I understand this may not be related to, I was just putting it out. So you said the 2.5 acres of trees will be cut down, irrespective of their current state or what will happen to them in future. Why are we cutting trees?
Yeah, go ahead, you answer that if you would, please.
Yeah, we had different locations that we could have, or different ways of orienting the site, the panels on the site. And the original design had a more concentrated solar array that was not an agricultural array, and so it was not able to be used for dual use. And so the area that we're cutting down is to convert it to pasture, to increase the grazing and haying area, and to facilitate the wider row spacing so it can continue to be used for agriculture.
Couldn't you make the solar panel space lesser? Couldn't you put less than 3,000 panels and still leave the trees as they are?
Well, decreasing the size of the row spacing would mean that the equipment can't properly operate on the site.
I don't understand that, but I hope somebody here understands that.
So the 21 feet between the rows was established to ensure that the equipment, the haying equipment, the planting equipment, the raking equipment, the baling equipment could operate safely. It's also to provide enough sun exposure to ensure healthy crop growth underneath or between the panels, between the arrays, between the rows.
Well, this may sound old school, but we all, arbiters at least, and please chime in, we are all old school thoughts, that we shouldn't be cutting down trees. Leave them as they are. There are other options to put solar panels. This definitely is not only inappropriate and inconvenient for everybody else, and if you talk about your community outreach, this is certainly not one that community appreciates. So I have one last question, and that is talking about the buffer zone. And I read the Conservation Commission's wetlands bylaws, and on second page, there is something that really caught my attention. It says that unaltered bordering lands protect the important functions and values of the wetland resources area. There is scientific research and the Commission's own experience demonstrates that bordering lands are significant to the wetland resources and interests protected by the wet law protection. So I am at a conflict here because if I understand the bylaws are here to protect the buffer zone, and at the same time, we are asking to disrupt something within 100 feet of the buffer zone. So I am not sure how I understand how we are going to uphold the bylaws.
I'm not sure I understand your question, but basically, the buffer zone is the area that provides jurisdiction for the Conservation Commission. It does not mean that nothing can be done there. And that's why we have filings, so that the applicant then demonstrates what they're going to do, and does that conform to the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act, the town bylaw, whichever is pertinent. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Maybe the applicant wants to again show the activity that's occurring within the buffer zone?
Yeah, sure. I can turn this.
Use the mic, please.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take this off. So there's an existing gravel access road that runs up towards the field. This is the 200-foot riverfront area, this is the buffer zone. So buffer zone impacts are between here, and it's just widening of an existing gravel road.
And is that going to create any other disturbance in terms of habitat and, wildlife that might?
There's no protected habitat here. It's just widening of an existing gravel road. And the only reason we're really widening it is to allow access for the fire department.
And there's no clearing associated with that.
So the only area that you're working within the 100-foot buffer zone is where you're widening the access road. And that area is currently sort of grassed pasture land for,
Yeah. On either side of the road, obviously,
so if you look at the plan where the solar arrays are and you see that green strip, that's the buffer zone. And they're not working within the buffer zone. So as far as the Wetlands Protection Act is concerned, they're doing minor work in the buffer zone. The remaining site falls under our land disturbance permit.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Please identify yourself for the record and sign in, please.
Hi, my name is Pete DePasca. I am a resident of Walpole. I'm not a resident of the area where the Aggie School solar panel project is, but I have friends that live in the area.
Where is your location?
I'm at 15 Beethoven Avenue in Symphony Park.
Okay.
I have friends that do live adjacent to the solar panel project, and I have a background in environmental management, and I've offered to help them. I've looked at the stormwater management plan, and I have two serious concerns about it. I'm glad that I heard some kind of doubts in this project here, because I have the same doubts too. I urge you to follow through on those doubts in this project and do not approve the project. And I will tell you, I will go through the comments that I have with the stormwater management plan. The runoff management is based on precipitation frequency estimates. And the way that they are calculated is from a document from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. It's a document called Atlas 14. That's where you get all the precipitation estimates based on duration and frequency. The problem is that this is the best data that's available right now. But the problem is that this data is based on raw data that's from 2015 and prior. A lot has happened in the last nine years with climate change. And similar to FEMA flood maps, right? How many times do we see that FEMA flood maps are not accurate anymore? The same goes with this. There is an assessment done that was published in the Journal of Hydrology, and I can give you some copies of this. And what it has shown is that the NOAA Atlas tends to underestimate precipitation frequency estimates. And there is a bias correction method that can be done, but it's limited in improving annual maximum precipitation. And you see this divergence from the accuracy in the data in storms that occur 12 hours and shorter. These are, higher intensity storms, short, intense storms. So inherently, the stormwater management plan is based on data that is flawed. It's outdated and it's old. And to be developing a stormwater management plan on a piece of property that is so close to residents is irresponsible.
Can I just ask you a question? Other than Noah, what would you recommend that's out there that is used for rain data? Because
If you look at that report, there are other options.
so you don't have any
No,
off the top of your head?
I just gave you a copy of it. So, but I'm
Along
saying.
with that line, in the recent past, we did change the standards which were to be used for determining rainfall. I don't know if the state has done that yet or not, but Walpole did. And basically, that is what is in existence that an applicant is directed to follow. So without some other, they're following the rules, and the rules were established, and we did upgrade, I forget now how long, it wasn't that long ago, but we did upgrade them. So, just for your information.
Right, no,
for the
and
public's information.
I agree that the latest and greatest data is what they've used, but it's not
Okay.
good data.
That's why I was asking if you have a more recent, latest and greatest.
No, I do not.
Okay.
Okay, my second comment is with the curve number, and for everyone here in the audience, the definition of a curve number, it represents the ability of land coverage to infiltrate runoff, right? It ranges from 30 to 100, and a higher number reflects a higher rate of runoff, and a lower number represents a higher rate of infiltration. So what we want to see is a lower number, meaning a higher rate of infiltration. The one comment I have is that on the debris pile. So in the report, the pre-development analysis runoff of the curve number, the debris pile was given a very high number, 86. However, we believe that number is lower because even though it's made of wood, the rain and runoff is able to infiltrate through that pile. So you're really working with a lower number there. And I know that the report does say that as the existing debris pile is to be removed, the overall curve number associated with post-development analysis is lower than the pre-development analysis. But however, if you look at the report, the pre-development number was 68. Post-development number was only 67. So it really didn't go down a whole lot. It's just one number off.
You recall earlier was requested that when that is removed, that there be some soil tests done. This was stated earlier by the agent.
Right?
Okay, so that, I think that addresses that question. It will be addressed. When the debris pile is removed, there will be soil tests done.
Yeah, but how will that change? How will that change the pre-development number?
With the soil test done.
Curve number. I don't think that you're going to change the infiltration number pre-development by removing the soil pile, the debris pile. And if you do, it's not going to be that big of a change. What happens is that post-development, your CN number for that area where the equipment pad and the array poles are, right? What you had here previously, pre-development for the debris pile was in 86. What happened here is that there's post-development, the only change is between the pre-development and post-development curve numbers was that where the equipment pads and array poles go on, it assigns it a CN number of 98. And so and then what they've done here is that they've taken the average of all the areas with their CN numbers pre-development and all the areas with their CN numbers post-development and taken an average. But if you just look at the area that is adjacent to the residence, there was a huge increase in the CN number. And that is the area of the project that's going to impact the residences. They are taking all the other areas of this 14 acres and using those numbers to average in. But if you look just at the area that's adjacent to the residence, there is going to be a drastic change in the impact.
So what area are you talking about? You're talking about the treed area near the residence?
The array poles,
Change.
yeah, the array, all where the panels are going to be.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
The grades flow away from the residence.
The hill goes down,
Right.
away from the residence.
For what kind of intensity, storm, and
For all the modeling we
duration?
did, I mean, this is standard practice, standard data that's available, but you're not gonna get the water to flow uphill.
Okay.
We're concerned about that higher intensity, shorter storms. And what I want to, right, but what I want to also point out is that there are residents right now that have flooding in their backyards now. And that any change in the area of they're just concerned about any changes in the ground near their properties is going to increase the flooding on their properties.
Okay. You have anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
In summary, I mean, I think we can all agree this is not a good location for the project. They're squeezing it in between a wetlands buffer and residence. There's a lot better places to do a solar array. You know, we have a landfill on Lincoln Road. There's other things. And if have any of you been to the county meetings at all? Have you attended any of the county meetings?
Well, go ahead. Just,
okay.
Again,
there has
keep it
been no
pertinent to
okay.
what's at issue
There's
here.
no support from the community for this project.
Okay,
No.
just that's not a conservation issue. Just
Okay.
proceed with your other comments, if you have any.
Okay. One other question. I know there was an offer to use some of the electricity and offered to the town. Would there be is the project constructed or planned as is, ready to do that, or would there be an additional construction required to connect to the grid to bring it to the town?
No, it's connecting to the grid as is.
Okay. Is there a way, I feel like you're signing on to something here sight unseen. How many projects has Kearsarge done with agrivoltaic solar arrays?
I don't think that's pertinent.
Wait, I want to say, I would love to see some types of examples.
I don't think that's pertinent. We have an applicant who has put in the proper format, and what they have done in the past or wherever else they've been is not pertinent to this particular hearing.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, is
Oh,
there,
Mr. Hamilton, did you want something else to add?
New information. When I went to the other meetings at the Aggie and at the Selectmen's Meeting Room, they were going to avoid cutting down trees. Now you're cutting down a lot of trees. And when you cut down trees, you get less groundwater because of sunlight evaporation and wind evaporation. So they'll be putting less water into the ground to go to our Mine Brook well field. Now, that and two of you were at the meeting where engineers came in and told you that contamination from that cemetery on Route 1 would not reach School Meadow Brook. I was at that meeting, and I told you it would. Eventually, the DEP caused a hydrology study of the cemetery and released a report that contamination from burying bodies in that cemetery would be at the wellheads at School Meadow Brook in 6 years and 9 months. So I was right.
Okay.
And you were given testimony that was incorrect, and I think you're getting testimony that's incorrect tonight. Thank you.
Maybe. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Again,
Want me to sign in
please,
first?
sign in and identify yourself, please.
Anthony Frucci, 4 Walden Drive. Just a basic question, and my concern is really around the battery, or the location of the battery. There was discussion about if there was an event, how the fire department would put that out. And there was talks about a chemical substance that would help extinguish. Is that natural or something that could affect the environment if an event does take place?
So the fire suppression system is within the enclosure itself. So it's a fully self-contained enclosure, and it's similar to the suppression system that you would find in buildings, other built structures. So it's not a exotic system. It's a system similar to those that are used or required by the fire department and other facilities with machinery.
That's great, but you still haven't answered the question. Is it a chemical substance that can affect the environment, or is it something that's natural that gets absorbed and doesn't affect the environment?
Unfortunately,
If the event does go beyond the contained.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question, but the fire department's going to go through a complete review of the system. Yeah.
Because that's another concern, right? Because anything could happen. And if there's some sort of leakage from that, in the event that something happens, what does that do to the groundwater and the environment surrounding that area?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Oh, yes.
We've been talking about trees so much, you know how much I love trees. I was looking over the plans, and you've got the thuja that only mature at a 10 to 15-foot height. So maybe consider some taller trees, since we established that the solar panels are going to reach 15 feet, so it might be nicer to have a little bit more of a buffer. And it also says that at the time of planting, screening trees will be early growth nursery stage. It takes these trees years to grow, so maybe they could be a larger caliber, if I'm saying that right. And then question on the cutting. I see there's the, squiggles that denote the edge of the cutting, but there are no plans to replant a little kind of privacy fence in that area.
Sorry, we're
Lower to the right of the tree cutting, that green square. So you have the arborvitae showing, going down to that corner, and then you're cutting, but there's nothing covering those, the view or possible
Yes.
view of those.
So at the time of the community meetings, we committed to having a 100-foot buffer, tree buffer in that area. The areas to the north where we've shown the tree screen, they were placed there because the current buffer to the field is less than 100 feet. And so that's the basis of the tree screening location, and as I said, that was discussed and offered and put forth in a series of meetings.
Well, I'm offering it again as a
Yeah,
consideration.
so it's a 100-foot wooded buffer from the boundary lines of the existing homes, and so we weren't anticipating adding more screening at that location.
Sure, and to the agent's point, sometimes the trees in that buffer don't keep their leaves, right? So
Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Use the microphone.
So I have pictures, and if you want
Use the
my,
microphone, please, if you would.
I have pictures of the field from my backyard. If you don't mind, I would like, if I can approach, I just want to show you that. And you reminded me, I had taken a picture, but I just kept it aside. But since you mentioned about the buffer zone, I mean, the trees and they fall, can I approach and just show you what the fields look like? And that is true for not just my backyard, but any of the others. If you don't mind using your hands, then you can see the field right from our backyard. This is my backyard. And you can see how thin the tree line is, and I can see the fields right, and what is brown is my,
And where is your property?
I
This
am
is
12 Susan Drive.
Susan Drive is here.
So
See,
this is me.
This is you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they're putting trees here.
We're proposing the screen abounding your property.
Just want to show you how close we are to the field. And this is in summer. You can only imagine what my
These-
view is going to be.
A tree screen is what?
Thank you.
What are you planning there?
We're proposing a arborvitae.
Oh, I see.
Along the
Okay.
boundary line. And
Okay.
The experience in similar plantings with projects such as this is that the younger growth trees planted in an area like this have shown greater survival rates than mature trees, candidly. And so the size of tree that's proposed here is consistent with what we've established in other areas where there have been tree screening requests, and they have been the most successful starting size, which we invariably have to replace at times anyway. But the more mature trees have had, a lower survival rate.
Might we include something to the effect that the tree screening would be reviewed by the commission to make sure it is complete from...
Chairman, can I add something?
Just a minute.
I'm sorry.
That we could include that?
Can you repeat that?
That
So I
the-
got
that
interrupted.
the screening trees would be reviewed by the agent to assure that it is, provides complete screening, whether it needs to be more than one. You're just showing one row here, whether that means you would stagger the rows, or you might have to, just to make sure that we fill in the spaces. Yes, go ahead.
If I could just add to that, there's a large deer population in that field today. They love arborvitaes. So if we could maybe propose that there's an arborvitae that is not friendly to deers, or,
Yeah, there is. I believe, I'm not a botanist, but I believe this is the one.
thank you.
Then they'll come to your place and eat whatever you have.
They do anyways.
No.
So Chairman, I just wanted to say one more thing about the stormwater management. So the stormwater management report and plan was reviewed by me, and like I said, the assistant town engineer, and we're both, we both review such documents on a regular basis for conservation. However, if the commission is not satisfied or thinks it needs further review, then in the past, you have always, requested peer review. I didn't bring that up front because I'm not sure if the peer review would come up with anything different than what is proposed now. Our regulations state that you have to use, you use NOAA, that's the current data that is available for review. It's in our bylaw, it's in, but the wetlands protection bylaw, and it's in the stormwater erosion control bylaw. It's what was recommended when we did our bylaw to comply with the MS4 permit. And my concern and the town and assistant engineer's concern was what was underneath that pile. If it was the same soil conditions as was used for the report. So that's why I would suggest conditioning further test pits under that. But if the commission feels that it needs review by another professional, you certainly can do that.
I would just like to comment that most of us, all of us here, have been on the commission for a number of years, and we have had reviews done by the engineering department in conjunction with our agent, and have found them to be very thorough, accurate, and it has, someone did comment a while back that with all the water or flood control, not necessarily flood control, but with the drainage issues that we have faced over the years with various filings, subdivisions, et cetera, that we are getting less flooding because of what has been done in keeping the water where it's supposed to be. And I have all the confidence that between the engineering department and our agent, that we have a very good approach to this, and I have all the confidence that they have done a good job on this particular project. So I don't think we need, in this case, a peer review. So, my 2 cents. Anybody have anything else they want to, on the board, want to say anything regarding that? Okay. I wanted to bring up on the debris pile. What are you going to do with that?
So the debris pile is going to be a discussion with the school, and the reason I raised that is because some of the timber, once we pull it all apart, it's unclear whether or not any of it they would want to have milled or chipped or used for temporary erosion control on site. But at if you think of it, the lowest common denominator, it'll be removed from site. So if the school doesn't want to have an alternative use for it on site that they're interested in, then we'll be removing it from site.
Okay, it's not going to be distributed as is?
No.
Okay,
No.
I just want to clarify that.
No.
I would think we'd want to also include that be inspected, reviewed for any contaminants that would be in there that would require it to be removed and disposed of according to whatever is found, whether it becomes a hazardous material or whatever. But there's they need to determine that before just chipping it up.
Yep.
Right, so I think the condition that I was recommending is the debris pile, the contents of the debris pile should be assessed and reported to the Conservation Commission prior to using on site. So
Okay.
in-depth review of what is there, and if there's man-made debris, you should tell us what's gonna happen to the man-made debris. If there's organic debris, let us know what's gonna happen. Kind of break down the material that's in the pile and where it's going and how
Sure.
you're using it prior to
Getting rid of it, yep.
doing that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can I approach, I have 3 questions.
Yeah, go ahead, identify yourself and sign in, please.
Hi, yes, good evening. My name is Jeff O'Donnell. I live at 343 Fisher Street. I have 3 questions. One, as an abutter of what was Sunny Rock Farm and that development that became Emerald Way, I know that the Army Corps was involved with that. This wetland is hydraulically connected to that wetland. Is Army Corps involved in this discussion at all, and why not?
Yeah, no, we don't meet any of the thresholds for Army Corps permitting.
There's no filling of wetlands. The Army Corps permit was because there was a significant fill and crossing of a wetlands and a stream in order to access that upland portion of
Okay,
Wells
thank you.
Commons.
Second question is relates to the pork chop part of the parcel that extends out to Fisher Street. Is there any intention to have a fire path connected to Fisher Street through there?
No, that was, I mean, I think we had said as part of our filing that the widening of the road, the existing road, was preferential to doing anything up there, because that would mean cutting the existing buffer.
So there's
no intention for us to, no, we're not going to build a path out.
Is there anything that this infrastructure would ultimately require that in the future?
Not for our project, no. I can't speak on behalf of the county, but not for this project, no.
And, okay, my third question is, based on the array, you mentioned earlier that you were taking into account the use of the path for its current uses, including the, what's coming up, the hayride and all that stuff. The turn there and the way that the arrays are between the path and the buffer zone doesn't look like it allows for proper turning for vehicles?
No, we'll ensure, I think you looked at the turning radius on that based on the tractor
Yeah.
and hay wagon.
Yep.
But we can recheck that. That certainly, I mean, that's just a matter of.
I know it's not for this.
Yeah.
I know it's not for this, but I just wanted to bring it to someone's attention.
That's easily double checked, but that'll be done, yeah. We can do that.
Those are my only questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. The pleasure of the commission to, do we need to continue the hearing for any additional information?
There's conditions on the debris pile and other conditions. I don't know if there's anything else.
And someone want to make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained?
Abstain.
501. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Now, what we have is the conditions which you have
Right, so
given us,
just-
plus what
just to
we've added.
separate the permits, so there's two permits, so the order of conditions under the Wetlands Protection Act and local bylaw. You want to do that first.
Which one do you want to do first? The
Order of conditions, so
Order
that,
of
that would be the
conditions.
work, majority of the
Oh,
work being
okay.
at the turn. So, with the widening of the road.
Okay, so that's the, it's under the order of conditions, so that's just the widening of the road. Okay. Did you have,
I don't have any specific conditions to that. I think that they're stating it's a limited project, 10.533D, which is for installation of underground and overhead utilities to work in the resource area. And the total riverfront area is 371,000 square feet. And, within
Excuse
the
me,
work area.
Landis, sorry. That number I gave you didn't go all the way to the property line, so it's actually 7.8 acres.
Okay,
Of
so
riverfront.
I guess the bottom line is the alteration, I was a little confused about the alteration because I think the number that you gave me tonight was 4,891, which is the alteration for the improvements of the widening of the road in the riverfront area. but your notice intent application says 11,202. So the 4,891, that's the correct number?
That's the correct number, yes.
So you should revise your notice of intent sheet.
Yep, the
where you-
form.
Yeah.
Okay,
please,
yep,
If you
will
could just
do.
send me your revised sheet. So the 4,891 square feet of riverfront area that's going to be altered for the expansion of the road, obviously is less than 5,000 and way under 10% of the total riverfront area. So don't have any specific additional conditions as far as the, obviously we can put in a condition that if anything, any additional activity occurs in the riverfront area or the buffer zone, they would have to come back and file. And then the stormwater management and the clearing of the remaining site would be under the land disturbance permit.
That's under the land disturbance.
Yeah,
The
including the
piles.
conditions about the debris piles.
The debris piles still seemed a little vague. I mean, so the Aggie has an option to go and use it, but there's a reason they dumped it out there to begin with.
Let's just finish that'll be the land disturbance.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's just
Yeah, I'm
finish,
just trying to make it
Yes,
clear
yes.
between
finish
the two.
this,
Yeah.
the notice of
Yep,
intent.
okay.
Is there anything else we need to put in there for the notice of intent?
We can
Well, I
put
think-
also a pre-construction hearing, which
Yeah,
is
well,
one of our
that's
boilerplates.
normal.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I think that area didn't seem to have too much concern. All right, so someone want to make a motion to issue the order as noted?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye,
I'm
opposed,
gonna
abstain.
again, yeah.
501. Okay, now, for the land disturbance, we've got several things that we've discussed that you have.
Right, the conditions with the debris pile, it should be conditioned that additional soil tests be made and provided to the Conservation Commission, engineering department when the pile is removed, so what's underneath just confirming the soil tests underneath the pile, and then also a condition confirming what is in the debris pile and how it will be used afterwards, if it will be trucked
how it
off-site, or if it will be chipped and used in
I
certain
think
areas.
we should have a record of what they find and what they have done with it.
Well, that's what I was asking for, a report that assesses
Okay.
the pile and then determines what actually will be used, how the pile will be used, how it will be broken up,
Okay.
based on its organic, or if they find an old car underneath there, or, what else. I know it's been there for a very long time, so you never know what you're gonna find. So I think we need to know what's there and then how you're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, I like the word dispose rather than use. If the agricultural
Dispose.
school was so eager to use it, they would have.
Good,
So,
how they're gonna dispose of it.
Okay, what else do we have on
and
here?
the they is not the agricultural school, right?
What was that?
And the they is not the agricultural school, right?
How it will be disposed.
Okay.
Okay, we had the vegetation screen, that would be reviewed.
What you had broken up, that you had suggested before, that the vegetative screen, once they start, after they plant the proposed line, to review it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that it be reviewed and make sure so that it provides the proper screening. And if additional vegetation is required, plantings are required, that they would add it.
Okay, yeah, we will do that.
Okay? And what else? Do we have anything else?
You know what, the only thing I threw in there, and I don't know if it makes sense if they're gonna be haying the area, but again, we talked a lot about the trees, and I feel as well taking down trees I can in other solar projects, trees have been taken down, but in place has been planted low shrub vegetation, which is more beneficial to wildlife habitat and the area. But this is different. If an agricultural field and you're still planning on haying that, I can understand why that wouldn't work. So I removed that.
I wonder if, we haven't heard from the agricultural school. Are they eager to hay it? Because if they're not, then,
So the school applied to the DOER for the, as a co-applicant on the permit for the
yeah, okay.
determination. And this will be part of the agricultural program. In fact, the school's going to be carrying out monitoring on the hay growth. It's basically a living laboratory. So they'll be looking at hay growth outside of the panel area, hay growth within the panel area, reporting on annually to the DOER.
Is it hayed now?
It's hay now.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two
So this
cuttings.
is,
Yeah.
this is a continued agricultural use.
Yes.
So we could include that this should be maintained in a continuing agricultural use.
You mean if the Aggie said they didn't want to hay it 10 years from now, what would happen? What does that mean?
Well, I think it's valid to put in a condition that it's going, should be continued to be as the plan is presented, to be a pasture that's paid. Because if it's not, then the stormwater
Right,
area
so it's
could
gotta be,
change.
so it's gotta be conservation mode.
So
It's either
if
hayed
the
or-
plan changes, they need to come back. So you could put a condition that it should continue
Continued.
as an agricultural use as provided in the plan or
As shown on the plan, and any changes, they could still keep it agricultural, but they might change it to something else, which could also affect what we have here now.
So
If they wanted to plant radishes, that would be,
Yeah.
could be different.
So the program in the school, anticipates that the haying is the existing use, and that's the initial proposed use under the DOER application. But as part of the curriculum program, they may choose to experiment with crops.
I also just want to, I'm sorry, Chair, I don't want to interrupt you, but the public hearing is closed.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
And everyone has left. So I know sometimes the commission is a little loosey-goosey about back and forth, but we don't want to introduce any new information here.
I think it should be continued in the use that they have proposed.
I think that makes sense. I would
Yeah.
leave it at that, and we always have a condition, if the plans change, you need to come back. So that's, I think
Yeah.
is a valid condition.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it was proposed,
Yes.
and that should continue.
Okay.
And give that as the,
Yeah, we can include that.
okay. Anything else, anybody? Okay, so we want to make that a motion to include that as part of the order as noted,
Land disturbance permit?
the land disturbance permit, yes.
Second.
Was that a motion?
Media.
Al, a second by Emilio? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain?
Yep, abstain.
Okay, 501.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board.
want the certificate of mailing receipts?
Yes, please. You can give them to Sarah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So Jack, I'm just gonna go through the enforcement orders. So at 120, 126 South Street, I don't have any new information, except I did get correspondence from Mr. Musto that they're still working on their plan that they're gonna submit as an amendment. Litchfield Lot 4, notice of noncompliance, that was the lot where trees were cut off the property and adjacent to the isolated wetlands. So the trees have been planted. I went out and inspected them, and they look good. They are the trees and the shrubs that were included in the restoration plan. So
It was
looking for
agreed on
that.
by the neighbors? Is this the one that had to be agreed on by the neighbors?
So the trees within the buffer zone was agreed upon by the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
I believe the neighbors wanted additional plantings outside the buffer zone, so
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
sure what happened with that.
Okay.
But the trees that were the approved restoration plan that was drawn by Dan American were planted. So we can review that, but I was going to give him the go-ahead to start on Lot 4, and then we can just monitor the restoration area as he constructs the house, and won't give him a certificate of compliance unless those trees and shrubs are healthy in 2 years. 92 County Street, this notice non-compliance. This is an area where I'm going to be doing a site visit on Thursday with Dan American. It's a person that has a ducks and chicken and different fowl on his property. This has been an ongoing thing as long as I've been in Walpole, that there's been complaints that stormwater runs through the area where the fowl are, and then it discharges into wetlands on the other side of the fence. Megan Leary and I from the health department were out there, I think, last year, and we told him to manage he had to manage the manure a lot better than he was, and I had him put a silt fence up to filter out any of the water that was flowing through his site, but apparently there's still issues. So I'm gonna go out there and take a look at again with Dan American and see if there's perhaps some kind of engineering solution so the stormwater is not flowing through this pen area where the ducks and chickens are.
So the fowl are fouling the wetlands?
The fowl are fouling wetlands. You got it, very good.
Thank you. Just to be clear.
Nothing new on the appeal, and then the only other item is, so I think everyone got a copy of the letters that were submitted in regards to Bird Pond. There was a public community hearing on Bird Pond by DCR and Dam Safety, and going through the different options for the dam. And these letters are from the River Rock Commons people to the commission, and was to the select board and CC to the commission. So there's nothing before the commission yet. Eventually, there will be something before the commission.
Good. So that, that it?
That's it.
Anything else?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, there is. So,
Yeah, we've got,
Wait, there's more.
right, under general business, there's the meeting schedule.
yeah, I would, we should make a note on that, where do I find it? The October meeting, town meeting is on Monday, our meeting is on Wednesday, so there might be interference, which we'd have to hear about.
So October 8th.
Let's see, where are we? October. No, the October 22nd.
No, okay.
Typically, October meeting is the third Monday. The spring meeting is the first Monday, I believe.
Yep,
So
this year's,
that shouldn't be a problem. Isn't it the third Monday for,
Yep.
for town meeting, which
Yep.
would be the 20th? So we might have an issue
21st this
with
year.
that.
well, this year's the 21st, so next, yeah.
Pardon? What?
This year's the 21st, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a third Monday.
Yes,
I
yes.
believe that's the way it's supposed to be,
Yep.
which would be the 20th.
yes, sir.
So we might have a problem on the 22nd, depending whether we want to,
Same with this coming 23rd meeting.
oh, okay, it is
Because town meeting's on the 21st.
21st.
But it's a pretty short agenda, so I don't think we'll have a problem.
Okay. We're proceeding as, at this point, as, that we will have a meeting.
Yes.
Okay. We don't have, do we have anything, that's our next meeting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We do have something
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah, a bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
How about that?
all right. Well, anyhow, just make a note.
Yeah, we'll put
on
an
there
asterisk
that,
where we
uh,
have dates may
yeah.
change if necessary. We'll put
Yeah.
the asterisk for October 22nd to be in line with that.
Other than that, I didn't see any other
And-
problem with the dates. Anybody
And
else
just
have
the
any?
copy that you, oh, yeah. The dates.
That's the only potential issue when I looked over the dates. I don't know, anybody else pick up anything else that might be an issue? Okay, so do we have to vote on this?
So just the only addition that I put in with the copy that was in your packet tonight
Oh,
was that it was brought up that our meeting dates and our application deadlines are 21 days apart. So if you bring your application in on our deadline, then we can schedule you within the 21 days for a public hearing. But if you bring in your application earlier, then we will not meet that 21-day period. And it's because Hometown Weekly comes out on a Thursday. So rather than every week, like the due date being the week before a hearing, we have to go Thursday. So it makes it so that it's a longer period in between when people bring in their application and when they get on hearing. So that was brought up, which I realized already, but it was brought up that another community, the way they handle it is they offer the option to put their legal ad in the Boston Globe. So you can put an ad in the Boston Globe, it goes into the Boston Globe and it goes into boston.com. So Boston Globe is not really a local circulation, but boston.com, I guess you can go on the internet. It's very easy to do a legal ad. For a Wednesday publish, you have to get it in by 4:30 on Monday, so it's very quick. So if somebody says, you have to meet that 21-day period, we can offer them this. So I can go to my computer, I can put in the ad, which I did, just to see. So I put in the ad for one of our next hearings, being Winters Estates, and it calculates the amount when you're putting it in. So the amount was $618. So at the bottom, I offer an alternative to the Hometown Weekly, being the Boston Globe, and also clearly stating that it'll probably run between $600 and $800, and we would need a credit card.
Yikes.
If someone is insisting that something be published within that 21 days, then we can do it, but it's gonna cost money.
That's steep.
all right,
No,
whose
no.
credit card? This would
It
be
would
the
have to be
applicant.
there.
Oh,
It'd
not
be
ours.
applicant's
Yes. the
credit
applicant's
card, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Either way, the applicant pays for the ad.
Right, so
Yeah.
there is an alternative. Is it the
Okay.
best alternative? I don't
Okay.
think so, but it does offer an alternative, and down the road, if we find out there's another alternative that's cheaper, obviously, we would offer that as well.
Yeah.
But our hands were kind of tied when Walpole Times left,
Yeah.
and the only
All right.
local circulation is.
Do we need to vote on this, that we have the
Could you
alternative?
please? Yeah.
Okay,
vote on
someone
the
make
whole-
that a motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. 600, sorry.
So what's it now, like
What
$5?
we should.
$80.
How much?
80.
80 bucks?
Yeah, it's still pricey. That's how the newspaper runs.
Yeah,
I
what
mean,
we
they
should
get
do is
about
include
10
this with a
illegal
vote
ads
that
per week.
it would be, presently, the alternative would be the Boston Globe, boston.com, or equivalent. if there is some other one, so we
Right,
don't have
sure,
to, so we could do,
yeah.
or
It would have to be
equivalent
local. I can't think
institution.
of what it would be. What would it be?
Oh, Norwood
The
paper,
Norwood paper.
Is that Norwood?
yeah,
I don't,
yeah. these
I
are-
mean, I like the Norwood paper. I think it's actually, they actually cover their Conservation Commission. It's fascinating. They'll have like a 2-page article just on what their Conservation Commission is doing.
I know
It's
there was even a
wonderful.
Norwood paper.
What?
Maybe we can look into see what that
You
was.
can pick it up for free. in
It's a
newsstands.
freebie too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's free, but
Yeah.
it's
Does it
worth
come out
getting.
Thursday.
It's worth picking up. We pick it up all the time.
All right.
Okay, so that takes care of the, so our vote was for the meeting dates and the way it's advertised, okay? Okay, so this one was October. Oh, baby. What else do we have?
Reorganization.
Okay. Okay. Anybody want to make a nomination for the chair, vice chair? Or can make it as, to continue as is? So we'll make a motion to do one or the other?
Move we continue as is.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600.
Congratulations.
We forgot to include the increase in pay.
Yes, double.
Approved.
It's double.
Double, okay. All right, thank you all. Thank you, Betsy. Conservation property, what was that?
We were going to discuss signage.
I just
Oh.
keep it, that's kind of like I just decided to keep it on the agenda in
Yeah.
case there's an issue that you want
Oh.
to bring up, the conservation, the signs or anything else has to do with the conservation properties.
By the way, John Sheehan was confused when I talked to him last night, and I told him he needed to call you. He was not sure at all we had done anything with the benches, and I said, yeah, we had. He was going to come tonight about it.
The benches.
On the benches.
The bench.
I looked over there, Landis and I talked about it, I said, I don't see any where we're gonna put 5 benches.
We're not putting them. They're-
I know that. I don't see that there's any need to put 5 benches. There's nothing wrong with the bench that's there, so all we really need is 2, one on either side of the existing bench,
They
is
want
my
to sell
opinion.
them, John, I mean.
I don't care, put them someplace else.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
can't,
My
stacking up benches there does not make sense to me.
My
is happening?
understanding is that there's being drafted a bench policy because the bench situation was getting a little
Benchy.
unorganized. So the town
Good one.
administration wanted to
Doug, you
have more of a policy of where
fun
the
guy.
benches were going, how the benches were chosen to go places. So I believe that's in the works, and that will be under the direction of Patrick Shields.
So nothing's gonna be done until this is,
I believe so.
okay.
But we just sort of said, yes, you can, I don't know, we were asked not, do we want a bench project? We were asked, is it okay to put benches?
I heard the number 5.
Yeah, I know.
And I see no point in 5 benches there.
It does seem like a lot. Does seem like a lot,
There's one there, and there's nothing wrong with the one that's there, so why replace it?
because it's gonna be.
Well, that's my, and I'm sticking to it.
You'll have to
Anyhow,
abstain
we'll
on
wait
that
and
vote.
see what the bench policy is. So,
Yeah.
we might even get a bench coach out of it.
A bench what?
Coach,
A bench coach?
yeah,
Bench regulations.
27 pages.
Ay, ay, ay.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
Don't quit your day job there.
I did that a long time ago. Okay, anybody have anything else? Someone make a motion to close the
I'll move.
meeting? Are we ready?
Second? Someone second? Al seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, we're done.
Second, Betty.